Hey everybody. So I just saw a video talking about Christian conspiracy theories that Christians believe are 100% true, and what are they? There were lots of comments, lots of people that put things down, and so I just wanted to go through a few of them and address some of them. Some of them I think are funny, some of them I think are just interesting, and some of them I think are potentially harmful. Most of them are just coincidences. People are seeing a dot here, a dot here, and they're saying, therefore, I think they're together. I think they have some kind of connection. Um, I think my favorites are going to be things like there are 33 bones in the spine, and Jesus was 33 when he died. Connection. Um, the ocean is unexplored because Leviathan's in there. Connection. But nonetheless, let's just jump right into it and we'll talk about it. So this is the video that I saw. There's no like actual video. It's just this. But it says, "Tell me your Christian conspiracy theories that you believe 100% are true." And I was like, I have to go see what the comments are saying. So let's go through some of them. So NASA saw Leviathan, and that's why they decided to never explore the ocean again. This is something that someone 100% believes. That we don't explore the ocean, which we do every day, but apparently we don't explore the ocean anymore because NASA saw Leviathan. The next one is something that I used to believe when I was a Christian. Anxiety and depression are demons. Now, I did personally think that anxiety and depression were real emotions, just negative ones that gave way to the enemy to plant demons and make those emotions a lot more amplified. Now, I have met Christians, like my dad and others, that truly believe that anxiety, depression, 100%, any type of mental illness, are demons. It doesn't exist. Mental illness, it's just demons. Um, that's really unfortunate for people who hold that position. Dirt is made up of hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen, which is what makes up 96% of our body. The Bible says God made us from dirt. Not a theory, just a crazy confirmation. What is this exactly supposed to confirm? This confirms nothing about a God. This confirms nothing about us being created from dirt by a God. So I'm not quite sure what the confirmation here is. Waking up in the middle of the night is the Lord urging you to pray for what's to come. I also used to believe this, that when you were woken up suddenly in the middle of the night and you couldn't go back to sleep, it's because God had laid something on your heart and you're supposed to pray. The firmament is real, the government knows this, and they all lie. Yes, the hard dome snow globe surface above our atmosphere is real. Totally, you guys. 8 blood types, 8 people on the ark. First of all, how crazy would that be if you had to have a requirement of everyone who survives has to have a different blood type? That's just silly. Um, I'm glad that these are seen as conspiracy theories because that's exactly what they are. They don't even have any theory for evidence base rooted in even in the Bible. Um, that's just completely all made up. But yeah, 8 blood types, 8 people on the ark. I'm pretty sure there's more than 8 blood types. I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Anyone that talks to a medium or psychic about dead relatives or their life is communicating with demons. That one I used to believe as well. And it wasn't until I was like 18 or 19 that I went to my first tarot card reader or whatever. And I was still very like anxious about it even then. Even though at that time I had believed that even if there were demons involved, they couldn't touch me because I was saved. Jesus died when he was 33, and the 33rd bone in your back holds you up. I don't believe that for a second. I'll look that up. You guys can go ahead and look that up, but I don't believe that. I also don't know how we're labeling your 33rd bone. What's number one? Where do you start? Do you go up the body, down the body? Either way, what holds up your back is like halfway through, and I can't imagine you wouldn't end up like somewhere around bone 120 or something. I don't know. Anyway, there's more demons on Earth than in hell right now. I also believe that because I believe that demons didn't go to hell unless specifically sent there by God or Jesus or somebody that had the authority of Jesus slash God. The government knows Jesus is real. Sure. Okay. How do you know that? Giants existed, dragons existed, unicorns existed, Leviathan was and is real. You know what? Dragons existing, maybe some form of some kind of dragon existed. We do see multiple different depictions of them all throughout different stories and myths across cultures and across the oceans. Maybe way back in the day there was some kind of animal that looked more like a dragon. Maybe at one point there were more taller people, but that doesn't mean that they were the Nephilim that were so tall that it's unimaginable. That doesn't mean that what we picture when we think dragons actually existed. Same with unicorns and same with Leviathan. I think out of all of these, Leviathan is the only one that I could be like, maybe it's real. Why? Because the ocean is so massive and it is so unexplored. That doesn't mean we're not exploring it. That doesn't mean we gave up because we did see Leviathan. That means we just haven't had a chance to see it all because it's so fucking big. The oceans take up majority of the world, and they are deep. There's a lot we still have to learn, but we are learning about it, and we are studying it. So far, I haven't seen any evidence of a Leviathan, but who knows? Maybe something massive like that does exist, and that's terrifying. I have a fear of the ocean. I don't like ocean life, so if there's a giant sea serpent in there, cool, leave it alone. The fallen angels are the Greek gods, very specifically the Greek. Only the Greek? What about all the other ones? What about all the other pagan gods or the Canaanite gods, older ancient ones, Sumerian gods? I guess those are not fallen angels, only the Greek gods are. Nah, I'm joking. I'm sure they think every single god that isn't Christian is a fallen angel. When the rapture happens, people will think it's aliens. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of god-awful movies. The Scathing Atheist people do it, but it's a really good show. It's a really good podcast. I would recommend it. It's just a bunch of atheists that are reviewing Christian movies and mock them. Mock them with language and words and creativity that I couldn't even muster. But there's an older movie called A Thief in the Night. Now, A Thief in the Night was a creepy rapture movie, and they reviewed that movie. But they talked about how when the rapture happens, how everyone is going to be like, oh my god, it's aliens, and try to come up with a bunch of shit of what else it could be, because that's what Christians keep saying, like in this comment. And one of them was like, are you really kidding me? Out of all the people who used to believe this, out of all the people who do believe this, out of all the people who were taught this, even if they don't believe it, if this happened, you would see lots of people going on radio shows, going on podcasts, going on TV, and going like, it's the rapture. It's the rapture, you guys. It's the rapture. It's the rapture. The rapture. And I 100% believe that if the rapture did happen, that's what we would see a lot more of. Sure, yeah, maybe some people would have their conspiracy theories, but a huge voice would be people going, it's the rapture. But I guess we're only going to think it's aliens. The meteors that hit Earth and killed the dinosaurs were Satan and the fallen angels being cast out of heaven. This one I've heard before, but I didn't believe. But I think that it's an interesting way to try to put the scientific evidence together with your belief, coming from this perspective. Definitely still just a conspiracy theory, but interesting, I think, nonetheless. I think this one's the most interesting one. That a messy house and room is a hiding place for demons, and a clean room and clean house is where the Holy Spirit lives in. Cleanliness is next to godliness, I guess. Anyway, I never believed this, but you know what? If someone told me this, I probably would think that it made sense. Trying to put like the laziness and stuff like that, with it, like your room is messy and, your house is messy because you're lazy, you're disorganized, and these are all characteristics that can lead to demons being around. And, it can diminish your well-being, which will make your mental health, however non-real that is, would make your health go down. And because of that, it would make the demons easier to harass you. So I think that if I heard this when I was a Christian, I would have not seen this as something truthful from God, but something that is absolutely possible of how demons can enter our lives. Schizophrenia is really you being tortured by demons and seeing into the spirit realm. This I used to believe. My dad told me this when I was younger. Lots of things, drug hallucinations, mental disorders that cause visual hallucinations, audio hallucinations. All of that was actually demons. And people that lived with these mental disorders and stuff like that, they just needed an exorcism. They just needed Jesus. They just needed to be saved. And then everything would be better. Looking back on that now, it makes me very sad to think that that was something that I held as truth. And I'm glad that as I got older and the more I studied what the truth actually was, that I quickly came to realize that that was completely wrong and that I shouldn't be going around and spreading that kind of misinformation. That watching demonic movies allows demons to enter your home using your TV as a portal. Yes, horror movies, you cannot watch them as a Christian because the demons will get you. Now this one, Epstein files are never going to be released because they do things we cannot comprehend, making deals with demons, sacrificing, etc. And if they did, then everyone would know God is real. What a terrible thing. The only thing that matters in your existence is where you're going to be in the afterlife if you accept God, and you can't even have the pleasure of knowing that He's real, that God is ensuring that the authority He put into the government is ensuring that we don't get the full and unfiltered Epstein files, because otherwise we would know God is real. We don't give a shit about God when it comes to the Epstein files. We care about naming the people who abused children. We want to know who hurt these kids. We want to know who is responsible for these lifetimes of horrible damage to well-being and to who knows what other aspects of the victims' lives. That's what we want to know when it comes to the Epstein files. We don't give two shits about God. And if somehow they're in there making sacrifices to whatever the fuck, cool. That's not relevant to the crimes and the abuse that they did to these children. And we don't give two fucks about why they did it. They did it. They did it, and we should know who they are so that we can hold them accountable. So to try to blame the whole Epstein file on, well, then we'll know if God is real or not, is the dumbest thing I've ever fucking heard. You can inherit demons that have attached to your family line. Yes, I heard about this too when I was a Christian, generational curses and all that fun shit. Something I used to believe, absolutely. I used to actually want to grow up to do some type of demonology type of work. I believe that I had engaged with evil spirits, and I had believed at one point that I was casting out demons in the name of Jesus, battling in the spiritual warfare. And I thanked God for letting me be a soldier for Him in that aspect. But I don't believe that anymore, and I don't believe that demons exist, and I don't think that whatever you quote-unquote inherited from your family line is anything demonic. If the devil isn't on your trail, it's because he already has you. I feel like that really just depends. The devil isn't on your trail because he already has you, but then he is on your trail because he wants to ensure he keeps you. It really depends on what Christian you're talking to. That'll use either or. But as it turns out, you can just say the same thing from any direction. You could say, well, the reason why you're not seeing any demonic activity is because you're not a believer. But then you see all these stories of non-believers that experience supernatural things, and then they become a believer, or they become a believer in something other than Christianity, or they're like, I experienced something, I don't know what it is. My first impression was supernatural, but I don't really think that that's what it was. There's a whole bunch of different ways that could be approached, but just to say, if you don't see the devil working in your life, that means that you're just an unsaved fuck. It's just silly. Jesus is 100% coming back in our lifetime. Yes, I did 100% believe this, as did every other Christian for the past 2,000 years. None of us are special. None of us were right. Don't see any reason why anyone would be right about it saying that today. Big Bang is Genesis 1:3. God said, "Let there be light." I never believed this. I understand why some Christians do, especially when they're trying to mesh reality, science, and facts with their non factual belief. But, no. Saying that God said, "Let there be light" means there's a Big Bang. Cool story, I guess. Show the connection. Show me the evidence that links one to the other. What if Pangea occurred when the Earth was flooded? And what if the Big Bang Theory was when God said, "Let there be light"? Well, we already addressed the "let there be light," but Pangea occurring when the Earth is flooded. I feel like when I was a Christian, I never really talked about Pangea. I couldn't give two shits about it. But I do remember thinking about it for a moment and being like, well, they do look like they're supposed to fit together. And I guess the only time that would have been able to happen is when it was completely covered by water. And that was it. That's all I cared about. It wasn't until I was much older and learning about plate tectonics and all that fun jazz that I was like, well, that couldn't have happened in the year or whatever that Noah was on the ark. So there clearly needs to be more time. Something isn't right. That couldn't have happened during the flood. And then I got older. I stopped believing in Christianity and the Bible altogether. And then I'm like, there was no worldwide flood like that. But it's not a bad theory, I guess. If you're going to believe the Bible, believing that Pangea occurred during the flood. Pink salt. I hear this a lot. Giant muscle tissue or whatever looks exactly like ours. Just because something looks like something else does not make that thing that something else. Like, I don't understand why that needs to be explained. Adam was made from earth, so I assume he had darker toned. And Eve was made from bone, so I assume she was lighter toned. Not supported biblically, but a fun concept to think about. She's trying to make race. I don't know, maybe it's a she, maybe it's a he. You know what? It doesn't matter. They are trying to make race out of dirt and bones. Okay. I used to have sleep paralysis many times constantly. I realized that even when I couldn't move or speak, I could still pray in my mind. When I did, the pressure left instantly. And since then, I've never experienced sleep paralysis again. Now, actually, same. Same here. I've experienced sleep paralysis twice in my life. And each time when I couldn't move, I couldn't say anything, but I could pray. And I did. And it didn't go away instantly, but it went away. And I credited that to my prayer. It hasn't happened since. Not at all, even in my adult life. If that were to happen to me today, I don't think I'd pray. If anything, I think I'd just be incredibly curious and just really want to study whatever it was I was looking at. And try to recount it, try to detail it later. I just don't see why my mind would go to prayer. And I've noticed that since leaving Christianity. All the things I would just jump to quickly with praying about it. That's not my go-to anymore. I actually have to think back about it and being like, oh, back in the day I would have prayed about that. But that doesn't mean that my prayer was responsible for taking away the sleep paralysis because God intervened when he heard my prayer. I see prayer as just another form of meditation. Prayer is simply just you mentally working stuff out. So it makes sense why meditating in that time would help calm you, would help make the scary things go away. I don't see anything special in here to say, maybe God helped me. The next one is stars are angels looking at us. I've never heard this one as a Christian. I did hear it a couple times later on in my life, and I think that's silly. But I guess going back into like my childhood Christian indoctrinated mind, if I was told that then, I could believe it because I probably would have also believed that we couldn't get past the firmament. But no one else has died. No one that has died is in heaven or hell. They are asleep until the day of judgment. That one, I think it depends, and I think that there's some verses that one could get into to argue this for or against, but I don't really think it's important in terms of Christian conspiracy theories. Dinosaurs were dragons, but science changed them to dinosaurs, so it didn't align with the Bible. This conspiracy of, like, no one wants you to believe in God or the Bible is crazy. Do they have that for Islam? Do they have conspiracy theories for Islam that no one wants to know who Allah is and that dinosaurs were dragons, but science changed them so that they didn't align with the Quran? Um, I think it'd be funny if there was, but I believe that we will be the generation that will witness the second coming of Jesus. Yeah, we talked about that. Dumb, but okay, hear me out. Y'all know the movie K-pop Demon Hunters. I know of it. I have not seen it. It opened my eyes to the reality of famous people music, put us under demonic hypnotic trances, and the lyrics are like the words to a spell that make us not follow Christ. This is something my dad would say. This is something that I probably would have believed. Um, that music is a very powerful influence over us, and that the devil uses music, especially the music of famous celebrities and artists, to try to poison our minds away from things that are spiritually good and things that are of God, and try to put us into a either corrupted and perversion version of God, or just no God at all. But if you guys are interested, you should check out Inspiring Philosophy. He is a pretty big, decent sized Christian content creator, and he does some debates. He does lots of videos. He's pretty smart, and he did a video about K-pop Demon Hunters, where he actually shows how you can get Christian elements from it, and how you can actually see Jesus and recognize a really great story with Christian values in K-pop Demon Hunters. So it all comes down to perspective. Who's right, who's wrong? I don't know. Go watch K-pop Demon Hunters. Go watch Inspiring Philosophy's video about it, and you already have seen this comment. Go make your own decision. But I think it's very interesting how very clearly it's all perspective. Some Christians see it as nothing but demonic, and other Christians can be like, wow, you can see Jesus in this. But we can't leave the earth. The moon landing was fake. Bible says we cannot leave the firmament. That one I would actually like to push back on. What verse says we cannot leave the firmament? I don't think there is a single one. Now, my last one that I think is just so funny. What if Cain, spelled incorrectly, Cain, from the Bible is Bigfoot, since he was since he was cast to walk. My God. What if Cain, from the Bible, is Bigfoot, since he was cursed to walk the earth for all eternity? I didn't realize how poorly this was spelled. That's funny. Come on, that's so funny to think about. That all this time, the Bible is 6,000, 7,000, let's be generous, 10,000 years, Cain has been wandering the earth, immortal, and has just grown so overly hairy that everyone that sees him is like, Bigfoot. That's just so funny. This is the funniest thing ever. But these are some of the conspiracy theories that Christians believe are 100% true. And let me just say, reading through this comment section, my face was just like this. I was just, I couldn't believe it. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed some of these comments and some thoughts. And yeah, let me know what you think. If you have a Christian conspiracy theory that you've heard that you think is wild, or actually even if you think it's true, that wasn't listed on here, please put it in the comments. I'd love to know. All right. Thank you, everyone. I hope you guys have a great day. Goodbye.